All right, welcome back to my channel. Countdown continues. Please don't mind the wind sock that's hanging down at the top of the video. Not much I can do to control that. It's windy out and I gotta have it. So yeah, this is chapter 1 of my historical kind of review of the area. I've been studying up on the history of St. Augustine and Jacksonville, and it's really rather cool, the battles between the French and the Spanish for control of the area. And so here we are in St. Augustine. And I'm sitting in front of the fort, Fort Matanzas, actually Castillo de San Marco, I believe, which has no real importance to the story I'm about to tell. But anyway, it's a good backdrop. It's the iconic place in St. Augustine. So the story that I wanted to impart and tell that involves murder and famine and gold and ships and battles is the settlement of St. Augustine by the Spanish. So that happened in 1565 by the Spanish conquistador Pedro Menendez de Avilés. And it is the oldest continuously habitated city in the United States, in the contiguous United States. Menendez commanded the galleons of the Great Armada de la Carrera, or the Spanish treasure fleet, Carrera. And they would sail down to the Caribbean and get gold there, and then come back up the coast. And the French had actually gotten to just north of here to Fort Caroline in Jacksonville a little bit earlier than them, and the French would try to ambush them and steal their gold. So the Spanish then consequently marched all the way up to Jacksonville, about 30 miles, which I can't imagine what that would have been like at that time, and attacked and defeated the French at Fort Caroline. But here is the location. I mean, just imagine, of Pedro Menendez and his men, Spanish settlement, transporting their gold out of the Caribbean back to Spain and fighting off the Frenchmen. Indians, the Timucuan Indian, lived in the area, and just what a remarkable feat. So as I said, the French were a bit north of here, and they'd try to pick off the Spanish ships and steal their gold. So in an effort to do that, they sailed all the way down to St. Augustine to try and take gold and attack the Spanish. But they hit a hurricane, and they were shipwrecked off the coast. And consequently, or kind of concurrently, the Spanish marched their men 30 miles up north to Fort Caroline and defeated the French encampment there. So this is where the Spanish were, in St. Augustine here, as named St. Augustine by the Spanish. And they marched north to Jacksonville, took over Fort Caroline, then came back to St. Augustine, and in doing so encountered the Frenchman Ribault, who had shipwrecked in the hurricane, and defeated them at Matanzas Inlet. And I'll tell a little bit more of that story in chapter 3. So just to wrap this up, because it's getting late and I got to get home, but I wanted to just show a little bit of St. Augustine, of the fort here, the castle. Again, this was built probably a couple hundred years afterwards by the Spanish, because history thereafter is told in a series of battles between the Spanish and the English over control of this port city. So, settled by Pedro Menendez, 1565, battles with the French, Jacksonville to here, Fort Matanzas, and St. Augustine is the story of the Spanish, and then afterwards the story of the Spanish fighting the English. So anyway, cool history. Hard to wrap your mind around all of the history involved on the ground right beneath our feet here, and the people that walked these streets, or cobblestone streets, or these beaches, and the ships and the battles. Amazing stuff. All right, time for me to head home. Geordie over and out. We are heading home out of St. Augustine. Here we go. I thought it might be cool to put the video on for a little bit, just leaving St. Augustine and going over the bridge, because the sky is nice, the sun is setting, might catch a little bit of nice color in the sky going over the bridge, and it's a nice view of the ocean too and stuff, so I think that should be cool. And then that'll conclude today's videos. The countdown continues from St. Augustine, Florida. To North A1A. Come through the canopy of live oaks here. Heading over the Intercoastal Waterway, the Volano Bridge, going from St. Augustine, Florida to Volano Beach, Florida. And it's breezy out. And hopefully we'll have some color in the sky. Not so much. Maybe a little. The ocean. That's how narrow this strip of land is. Intercoastal that we're right above, and there's the ocean. So you can imagine, hurricanes come, it's very, very easy for this area to get flooded or even wiped out. Well, we're fortunate around here that we don't seem to get direct hits typically. Typically, most of our hurricanes come from the west, from like the Tampa area, from the Gulf, and come across Florida. Or they're off the coast, but they don't typically make landfall on this coast. This would be wiped out. Alright, I'm just going to cruise home on A1A North. I think I got the wind at my back now, which is nice. And sign off from here. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe. Thanks for hanging out with me. And the countdown continues. We'll do another one tomorrow. And hope to see you in the next one. Alright, take care. Bye-bye.